This will unlock the Texans. There was a lot of concern in the offseason about not only the offensive line, but the defensive line. And now there's an opportunity for Nick Caserio to go after a player who just got released after signing a 4-year contract last offseason on the Raiders. They just released him, so there is a lot of open places to where he could go. Houston is a potential landing spot. They were interested in him in 2024, so they just didn't want to play the big price tag. Now, he could be on a 1-year prove-it deal, but there could be some other teams in the bidding. Welcome to Texans Digest. If you're new here, 75% of you are not subscribed. Would really appreciate all the support on the channel. You guys have been killing it. Thank you guys. Texans Digest, you guys have been rolling. But as for Christian Wilkins, he has been a monster of a player. And just to look at his stats on the Dolphins, and the main reason the Raiders, I really couldn't understand why they cut him. But the fact of the matter is, he played in 5 games last year. He had a season-ending left foot injury. That is never a good sign, especially if a player is released months before the season is underway. Literally a month and the season is about to start. So the biggest concern would be, is he going to be back to full health? But the trend that he was on last season, 5 games played, 17 tackles, 6 assisted, 2 sacks. I mean, in 5 games, 2 sacks for a defensive tackle, a guy who had 9 sacks in 2023 in Miami. I mean, that's the reason he got the big contract. So will a team go out and give him a 3 or 4 year deal? I don't know, but he's 29 years old, and realistically, looking at the Texans' depth chart here, they could use some help at defensive line. I mean, interior defensive line to be exact. Tim Settle Jr., Lorenzo Fatukasi, DeMeco Autry will probably be in there, Sheldon Rankins. There's never really a name that stands out, and Christian Wilkins is that guy who can plug up the middle, be a good run stuffer, but also rush the passer. This is his PFF grades from last year. I know it's a little bit of a small sample size, but in the games that he did play, 5 games, 80 PFF grade run defense, 6-6 in the pass. I mean, that's all you can ask for. Again, small sample size. You can't trust PFF. But realistically, looking at him as a player, it just looked like the Raiders didn't want to pay him that massive contract. So it's, again, very head-scratching why they released him. The situation itself is crazy. $57 million guaranteed that they just have to get rid of after 1 season with the team. But the biggest thing is, where could he go? Narrowing down the landing spots, there's a lot of teams that could be contenders. And the news was that Wilkins originally wanted to go to Houston. He had interest in Houston and then he originally went off to Vegas in 2024. But the biggest thing was the Texans didn't want to give him that long-term massive contract because he did get a big deal. But now you look at it, free agent, 1 year, prove-it deal if nobody else is going to give him a shot. Again, it depends on what teams are going to offer him a contract, when he can be on the team by, if he can be up to speed. But looking at the DeMeco Ryans offense, I mean, this is a team that can really thrive well with another just body up front and somebody that can rotate very consistently. And Christian Wilkins can play. Let me know your thoughts, but realistically, the Texans need somebody now. Like, this is not going to cut it in terms of the depth chart right now. And you already have so many injuries. Look at the O's. Autry has a knee injury. Fatukasi has been put on the PUP list. There's not a lot of good signs, especially Christian Harris with a Q next to his name. He's been battling a calf injury for the past 2 years. So not good news there. But again, it's a rare occurrence to see a top player fall. But if you're Nick Caserio here, why not take a chance? I know the lingering injury issues could be alarming, but this is a defense that needs all the help it can get, because I'm a little bit, and this is going to sound bad, but can the Texans defense replicate how good it was last year? DeMeco Ryans, unbelievable play caller. He was awesome, not only last year, but in the 2 years he's been with the team. And he's put players in situations to succeed, and they haven't succeeded in other situations. Sheldon Rankins did not have the best year with the Bengals. He had an off-the-field issue, but on the Texans, 2023, he was a monster in the DeMeco Ryans system. So I think Rankins will be the number 1 defensive tackle up front. I'm interested to see a 4-3. I know we've seen it last year, but the 2 defensive tackles is a little bit interesting to me, because I don't think the Texans are a 2 defensive tackle kind of team. If they were to run a 3-4, obviously you don't need an extra linebacker, because the Texans don't have a lot of linebackers. You have EJ Speed, Tuo, Toto, Aziz Al-Shaair, it's just not a lot of stuff going on there. I love Christian Harris, but I question if he's going to be ready for the season. Last year, he played okay in the playoffs. He just didn't look 100%. And then the year before, amazing, almost 100 tackles. So this is a defense that needs all the help it can get. And I'm not saying that because it's a bad defense. Obviously, they were top 10 last year. I think the secondary should shine. Jalen Pitre, Kamari Lassiter, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kalen Bullock. I mean, Derek Stingley. There's so much firepower in the back end, and then as well as up front. Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, that duo last year was incredible. But the two things the Texans are lacking on defense is defensive tackle, interior defensive tackle, and linebacker. So if you can't go get a linebacker, you might as well go get somebody in Christian Wilkins who can help you up front right away. And that's the biggest thing here, is that he can do that no problem. Signing Wilkins would address a big need for Houston. Not only that, but he's a jack of all trades. Defense, in the run game, the pass game, there's a lot of good there. And honestly, every year with the Dolphins, 10 sacks. I mean, that when he finished that year. So that's, again, you can read it for yourself. But Christian Wilkins is the guy that the Texans have to go after. I wouldn't even mind giving him a couple million. And I did go look at the Texans cap space because that could be an issue. They have $14 million in cap space. I really don't mind going after a good defensive player who could be considered a superstar. Yes, the injury does concern you, especially a foot. But honestly, I'm going to just disregard that and say, hey, let's go try and win a Super Bowl. Because what's the likelihood if the Texans wait a year or two? They can't really, the window closes very fast to win a Super Bowl if you're a young team in this league. They have a lot of great defensive talent between Kalen Bullock, who's 21, 22 years old, Jalen Pitre, a young safety as well, C.J. Gardner-Johnson bringing in the veteran presence, Derek Stingley solidifying himself as one of the best defensive backs in the league. I mean, that is what you want to see with this Texans defense. But there's a big but in there. All of these young guys are going to need contracts. One of them, who's not on defense, C.J. Stroud, he's going to get paid up there with the rest of them, $50 to $55 million a year. And when you pay a quarterback, historically, you do not win Super Bowls. It's just unlikely to happen unless C.J. Stroud says, hey, I'll take a pay cut. He takes like 45, or they work a team-friendly deal to where he signs a big signing bonus. I'm not worried with Stroud because even if they do give him a big contract that he does deserve, he'll take a salary cap hit. He'll be like, all right, let's restructure the contract. Nico Collins restructured his contract. I think this is a team that wants to win a chip. Can they this year? Potentially. There are some other good teams that they would have to beat, and it would be really tough. But if the defense plays like it did last year, the offense can play like it did in its rookie year, but up to standard, not like it did last year. The offensive line holds up. This is a team that could go on a run. And whether it's this year, whether it's next year, whether it's the end of Stroud's rookie deal, you need to be able to do it now. This is the window. The next 2 years, 3 years for the Texans, C.J. Stroud's fifth-year option, that is the time period to go win a Super Bowl. Will the Texans ever make it to the AFC Championship game? We'll see. I mean, realistically, I think if they make it to an AFC Championship game, that is a successful season. And I know it's hard to say that because you look at the fact that this team has never made it to an AFC Championship. But now you could probably say that Christian Wilkins would help to this team. But looking at what this team is made for, C.J. Stroud is probably close. And I know it sounds bad, but he could be the all-time best quarterback for the Texans. I know it's Matt Schaub. You had Deshaun Watson, who looked promising. This is it. This is probably the best quarterback the Texans have had in a decade, minus Deshaun Watson because of that whole crazy situation. But, I mean, seriously, you have the franchise quarterback. Go out and get a defender who you need kind of defensive help from. So the offense is there. The defense is there. Why not round it out with Christian Wilkins? And honestly, let me know your thoughts on not only the defense, the offense, the potential of winning a championship, as well as the expectations for the season. What do you think the Texans realistically should do? Missing the playoffs, that's a very underperforming season. I'd say I'd expect them to at least make the playoffs and at least win one playoff game. I think that's the bare minimum. I know it's hard to say, but making the playoffs is very difficult in this league. But from what the Texans have provided for the past few years on their expectations in an easier division, they should at least not, even if the Jaguars or some team comes out of the blue and plays amazing, the Texans should at least make a wild card team. 10, 11 wins is a minimum for this team this year. And I think you have that now. You have the coach, you have the quarterback, you have the defense that you want. This is the time for the Texans. There's no better time than now. Go out and go do what the Commanders are doing. Go get Von Miller. Go get Deebo Samuel. You have all of these guys sitting right in front of you. Why not sign them? Christian Wilkins, get him. I don't care. Amari Cooper, get him. I don't care who they are. Sign players now. You want veterans. You want people who have been in the Super Bowls. You want experience. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, an experienced pickup. But I've been rambling long enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. It's been Mike Zanetti, Texans Digest. Appreciate y'all watching. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you in the next video.